Today will be, yet again, our most intense day of strikes inside Iran. The most fighters, the most bombers, the most strikes. Intelligence more refined and better than ever.
I prefer it when our intelligence is more refined and better. I like better as well. More refined, a refined intelligence. Good. That was, of course, the Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, in this morning's 8 a.m. briefing at the Pentagon. Bum, 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 bum. And we are at 888-630-9625, 888-630-9625. All are welcome. Okay, most are welcome. Almost all. I don't want to say every single left-wing lunatic, jihadi, miscreant. The Democrat Party really is, they're all in on this jihad, aren't they? Their anti-Westernism is on parade. Bum, 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 bum. There's a lot going on. We had a terror attack in New York City. 2 jihadis inspired by ISIS. They're ISIS. I think if you're inspired by ISIS and you make bombs and you go out and you throw them at people, I think that you qualify. I'm not sure what membership requires, but I think that that means that they are ISIS because they tried to murder a whole bunch of people and ran away, and now they've been arrested and they told the law enforcement people that they were very inspired by the Democrat Party. I mean, by ISIS. And they wanted to blow people up with their improvised explosive devices, their IEDs, their nail bombs with, screws and ball bearings and very advanced explosives. We were talking about it yesterday while on the air. And the Democrats, including the mayor of New York, elected by Democrat voters in New York City, our most populous city, they're kind of all in with. In fact, you see that Mayor Jihadi, he invited a radical Islamist who ought to have been deported long ago, but because he's inciting jihad, Columbia University and college campuses and all that stuff. But the Democrats, they promote him and they support him because they like death. More Democrats, more murder, I think, is one of the things going on with that. But Mahmoud Khalil, remember Mahmoud Khalil? He was stirring up. He lied on his application for a student visa and denied his membership in radical, genocidal, anti-Semite Islamist organizations. And if he had put that on his application for a student visa, he likely would have been denied, although the Democrats like having jihad on our doorstep. They'd let him in anyway. They waved in how many hundreds and hundreds of Iranians waved in illegally across our southern border during Joe Biden, and they're in the country and all that good stuff. And now, guess what? There's a story. ABC Fake News reported the story, and now others have matched the reporting, as they say, that Iran, the nation of Iran, they've sent out orders from on high, from Allah, from on high, for their sleeper cells to activate and kill people all over the place. Now, does that apply to the 2 guys with the nail bombs in New York City? Perhaps not. But we've been hearing about these Iranian sleeper cells for decades and decades now, and it might be time for them to activate their sleeper cells. And jihadi, we had a radical Islamic jihadi shoot the place up on 6th Street in Austin, Texas, a little while, I guess a week ago, maybe a little more than a week ago. He murdered 3 and wounded 14 more with his rifle, and then the police showed up in 57 seconds and gunned him down because that's what you got to do, because this is an asymmetric war that is being waged against civilization itself by radical Islam, and isn't that well? But yeah, the people at ABC Fake News, I believe, first reported, and now the New York Post reporting, matching the reporting with their own sources. Iran sends out suspected operational trigger. That's what they're calling an operational trigger to activate sleeper cells abroad. Abroad. See, they're always demeaning women, aren't they? Because they got this abroad thing. After Khamenei's death, U.S. officials warn. And, the thing is they've got a new person that they picked. He's the son of the Ayatollah. They want to have another Ayatollah because the killing must continue in the name of Allah. The killing must continue in the name of Islam. And that's why, there were, about 20 protesters, maybe 25 protesters outside of Gracie Mansion, where the Democrat mayor there is a Muslim and a Jew-hating, anti-American, anti-capitalist Muslim who would, there's going to be more killing because of the way the Democrats vote and the way they think. And I use the word think very loosely. I'm making quotation marks with my fingers. But he had Mahmoud Khalil over at Gracie Mansion for dinner because he loves the jihad and the Jew-hating, genocidal Islamist lunatics like Mahmoud Khalil. So the mayor of New York, elected by Democrats there, has last night invited him over for dinner, Mahmoud Khalil, who lied on his forms about his membership in pro-terror organizations. And the Democrats say, who cares if he lied on his application for a student visa about his membership in radical Islamic jihadi organizations? The Democrat Party actually doesn't care, and their members don't care. The members of and the leadership of the Democrat Party, they don't care. And Democrat Party voters don't care. And they're cross-dressing and mutilating the genitals of children and promoting the jihad in the United States of America. More Democrats, more murder. But the New York Post with the story, Iran sent out a possible operational trigger to activate sleeper assets abroad after the war with America and Israel began. It began in 1979 when they started kidnapping and taking hostages and killing people and waging war against Iran, against Israel, and against us. That's when the war started. But I guess you could say when Trump started dropping bombs on them, that's when the war started, huh? That's not when the war started. That's really not, genuinely not when the war started. It started when I was a teenager, and they've been waging the war ever since. And so we got that. And Iran, according to U.S. intelligence, the coded signal was sent out following the death of Iranian supreme leader, the bearded loon Ali Khamenei. And now his son may become the next Ayatollah. And they figure, hey, what the heck? We don't care. We look forward to dying. They all want to die a bloody and glorious death. And they say, well, we'll just make another Ayatollah. Then we'll be just like we were before, the number one hot seat of terrorism on planet Earth, genocidal loons running a country of 92 million people with enormous outsized economic impact because of the oil that they control and because of the control that they might have over the Strait of Hormuz, where all that oil and natural gas comes out of the Arabian Gulf, the Persian Gulf, the Arabian Sea. But that's Iran. They're a terrorist organization. And the Democrats say, well, no, we're the bad guys because Mohammad Mossadegh, because 1953, we deserve it. We're to blame here. And that's because they're a suicidal death cult, too, and they should kind of go the way of Jonestown. But maybe on the Mall in Washington, where we could carry it live. I think it'd be better that way. So Iran sending out their coded message, and ABC News first reported, citing a federal alert sent to law enforcement agencies. And it says they're covert operatives or sleeper assets. We always called them sleeper cells before, but either way, it's fine. And this is radical Islam because they killed, they murdered, they genocide as a verb. I like to use it as a verb like that. The message could be intended to activate or provide instructions to pre-position sleeper assets operating outside the originating country. The alert warned. And why don't you just call it what it is? Iran. That's the originating country. You don't have to call it the originating country, but they do that anyway because the government, So the U.S. warning said intelligence, bad intelligence, bad. U.S. warning said intelligence had detected a broadcast station repeatedly transmitting a message to multiple countries outside Iran, according to ABC. While the exact contents of these transmissions cannot currently be determined, really, we spend trillions of dollars and you can't crack the Iranian code all these decades later. The sudden appearance of a new station with international rebroadcast characteristics warrants heightened situational awareness. That's a good term, situational awareness. God like that. The alert also noted that the transmission was intercepted. Intercepted was it was likely of Iranian origin. Well, where else would it be, stupids? Come on, don't be ridiculous. Eric von Zipper in charge over there? So they got that. Law enforcement agencies have been called on to increase monitoring of suspicious radio frequencies. Oh, sure, I can see him up in the roof of police stations in Des Moines with a headset on, trying to dial into the Iranian radio broadcast after the message was intercepted. Well, there are no specific, credible threats to the public as of yet. Counterintelligence experts have warned of the potential for revenge attacks on U.S. soil as a result of the war with Iran. That's because they've been at war with us the whole time, and they continue to be at war with us because they haven't been wiped out, and that really is probably the only thing that's going to stop the jihad, the tide of radical Islam. So if ever there's going to be a Hezbollah cell or Hamas cell act in the United States in a violent way, it's now. Chris Swecker, a former FBI assistant director, told Fox News after the war began. FBI Director Kash Patel has said U.S. counterterrorism and intelligence agents were placed on high alert, and his team working 24/7. Well, what other hours would you work? As always, to address and disrupt any potential threats to U.S. soil. Now, you may recall that the lunatic from Senegal, an immigrant from Senegal, who's Nadege Nadingaba, and he's 53 years old. I'm deliberately mangling his name because I don't care to learn his name. But he showed up at Austin, a bar, killing 2 people and injuring 14. I thought a third had died. Later on. And investigators are probing whether Diange was motivated by the war in Iran, since the suspect was wearing a T-shirt with the Iranian flag design on it under a hoodie with the words, "Property of Allah," printed on his chest. Yeah, 3. So the New York Post got it wrong, and I got it right, as I'm disappointed in the New York Post. But that'll happen. It's not easy to be as right as I am all the time. I understand that. It's a challenge. Law enforcement sources told the New York Post that these 2 teens in New York, and what are they? CNN is covering up for them. They're using all kinds of ridiculous language about these 2 jihadis in New York that threw the nail bombs, the improvised explosive devices, at people because one of them was supposed to be a white nationalist. And I saw the news media call them that. Now I was texting with one of my brothers, and I said, "Well, wait a minute. I know that's an insult. He's a white nationalist. What's the bad part? That he's white? Is that the thing? Or that he's, as an American, a nationalist, meaning that he supports his own country, which isn't the world's leading sponsor of terrorism, but he's a white nationalist. So that's bad, you see, because white is bad, I know from the news media, and nationalist, that's bad unless you're a jihadi from hell. In which case, it's like that. Pretty amazing stuff. We've got that. Also, you see, the Iranian women's soccer team was playing soccer at a competition in Australia, and it turns out, and they took a knee during the Iranian national anthem. So now they're convinced that they'll be hanged in public from cranes while crowds of men chant Allahu Akbar. And so they don't want to go back to Iran. President Trump calls on Australia to give asylum to members of Iranian women's soccer team because they don't want to be murdered by their own government. And Democrats say, hey, what's the difference between the United States and Iran? No big deal. We're bad, too. Yeah, well, when the soccer team comes home after taking a knee, we don't hang them from cranes and chant Allahu Akbar. A little bit different, I think. And Chuck Schumer. Chuck Schumer, he's the lizard king, and he's not on our side. And the story out of New York, Mom Donnie, there was a protest about Islamizing New York. They were condemning the Islamization of New York. That's they call them white nationalists, which is bad because you're white and you're a nationalist. And the jihadis showed up, and all the Democrat American talk about is said there was a racist out there, which would seem to justify the bombings that they attempted and failed to pull off. But I've got updates for you on that and audio for you on that. Amazing, but these terrible anti-Muslim protesters showed up, and they were complaining that Islam is bad. And in order to prove them wrong, a couple of Muslims showed up and bombed them. They got their homemade improvised explosive devices, and they hurled their nail and screw and ball-bearing bombs at them because they suggested that Islam is too often violent. So they bombed them. No sense of irony, just like Democrats. 888-630-9625. The CNN headline, 2 Pennsylvania teenagers crossed into New York City Saturday morning for what could have been a normal day of enjoying the city during abnormally warm weather. That's how they start the story. 2 jihadis made IEDs and hurled them at peaceful protest in New York, as the actual headline. But CNN is smoothing it over for the jihadis. Let's go to the phones, Mike. Let's go to Randy calling from Fredericksburg, Virginia. Randall, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Good morning, Chris.
Hey, Randy.
I heard you speaking about transmissions to all our friends here in the United States, all the illegals that came across the border working for the mullahs.
Uh-huh.
And I wanted to say something about, since World War II and maybe even before that, there were numbers stations established all over the world so that all these nation states could speak covertly to their people out in the field.
Uh-huh.
Maybe you've heard of these before.
Yes.
These radio stations are covert, and what they do is they transmit sets of numbers that give instructions to their guys in the field. And we're probably seeing some of that now.
And, well, I guess we're lucky that we have the Trump administration, but we do have the permanent bureaucracy, and the Democrats have corrupted our intelligence agencies and the FBI to such a great degree. But we've been hearing about these jihadis being pre-positioned, the sleeper cells, forever and ever, for decades and decades. And now, yes. So the jihadis in New York that showed up with their improvised explosive devices and hurled their bombs, and they didn't explode, and then they were captured by the police, who the Democrats want to defund. And the same Democrats want to keep our borders open and wave in random people from any place in the world who may want to kill everybody, because the left is fine with all that, of course. But isn't that amazing? The reporter at Fox News, Bill Melugin, has a Twitter account, and he tweeted, according to the just-released federal criminal complaint after New York City terror suspect Amir Balat, he's Amir Balat, that's one of those Muslim names, was arrested for throwing an IED loaded with nuts, bolts, and TATP. TATP is the Advanced Explosive Materials at the center of the nail bomb, of the improvised explosive device. He pledged allegiance to ISIS while in NYPD custody, saying, "All praise is due to Allah, Lord of all worlds." Lord of all worlds. Is this like, wasn't that in the movie Superman or something like that? Lord of all worlds. And I pledge allegiance to the Islamic State. It's not I pledge. The Democrats want to stop people from saying I pledge allegiance to the American flag, but when you're a jihadi and you pledge allegiance to the Islamic State, then you Then he said, "Die in your rage, you kafar," because kafar is a slur that they use for infidels, non-Muslims, the kafar, and die in your rage. That's they want to kill and all that. And then he added, according to Bill Melugin of Fox News, looking at the police report, said, "This isn't a rebellion that just stands when people talk about the blessed name of the prophet. We take action." So he's a jihadi. And the Democrats, they have him over for dinner and say, yes, I would kill all the Jews too. I would wipe Israel off the map from the river to the sea. Although most Democrats don't know what river it is or what sea it is, but they may just chant that from the river to the sea. Anyway, amazing stuff. And then Bill Melugin wrote that Balat, the one of the would-be mass murderers here, additionally stated that they wanted to carry out an attack bigger than the Boston Marathon bombing, which Balat noted caused only 3 deaths. He wanted more death than that. And the CNN story is pretty remarkable, too. Got to say, the CNN Twitter account said 2 Pennsylvania teenagers. It's true that one is 18 and one is 19, but they call them Pennsylvania teenagers. The most benign description you could possibly come up with. They're radical Islamic Muslim jihadis whose parents were given safe haven in the United States from the bloodthirsty ghouls that they fled in their home nations, including Afghanistan. 2 Pennsylvania teenagers crossed into New York City Saturday, and for what could have been a normal day enjoying the city during abnormally warm weather. They're really on it there, aren't they? That lead sentence, that's really accurate. But in less than an hour, their lives would drastically change as the pair would be arrested. They still haven't gotten to the bombing part. Have you noticed this? And they haven't mentioned Muslim or Islamic or anything. When their lives would change, and they would be arrested for throwing homemade bombs, which they made themselves with the aim of killing a lot of people, at an anti-Muslim protest. You're allowed to have a peaceful anti-Muslim protest, but in all the media accounts, those are the bad guys, the white nationalists and the fascists and the Nazis who were peacefully protesting, and then the bombers show up. They're jihadis, they're terrorists. They want to kill as many people as possible, and they're kind of the innocent bystanders in all of this, according to the Democrats, including the mayor of New York City and beyond. Yeah, so, their day would drastically change. Their lives would drastically change. The pair would be arrested for throwing homemade bombs during an anti-Muslim protest outside of Mayor Zohran Mamdani's home. And you'll never guess, but he is a Muslim. See, that's the crazy thing about that. Therefore, these are really bad guys, and you should throw nail bombs at them because Democrats, And Mayor Zohran Mamdani, and his Twitter handle is Mayor Zohran Kwame Mamdani. He grew up in Uganda, mostly, home of Idi Amin, who was a cannibal. And he doesn't like the United States, but he might have to be deported back to Uganda. And the mayor of New York, a Democrat, says, this is great, because he had Mahmoud Khalil over at his house for dinner. And Mahmoud Khalil was arrested for inciting violence against Jews on the campus of Columbia University in New York City, where he was allegedly a student, but he's like 38 years old or something ridiculous. And he was just there to incite violence against Jews and against Israel. And he lied on his application for a student visa, then green card, leaving out his affiliations with jihadi-oriented organizations. And that's okay because they're Democrats. And Mayor Zohran Kwame Mamdani said for Mahmoud Khalil, this past year has been marked by profound hardship. Well, he didn't get to kill any Jews. I guess that was hardship for him. And by profound courage. courage. See, he's the cowardly lion. And the mayor says that this Mahmoud Khalil, who again lied about his membership in terrorist-affiliated organizations, he lied on and he got into the United States, and then he started carrying out the jihad. And the Democrat mayor, who is a Muslim man and a jihadi, is deflecting and defending for him. And the mayor of New York continues, a year ago, Mahmoud was walking home through our city after sharing an iftar. Iftar, that's the nice meal at the end of the day during Ramadan. Iftar with his wife, whose name is Noor. She's a Snohor. When he was detained by federal agents, flown to Louisiana, and held by ICE at a facility for months. In that time, he was forced to miss the birth of his first child. Did it explode? Was it born in a car bomb or anything like that? All of this for exercising his First Amendment rights in protesting the ongoing genocide in Palestine. Well, there is no genocide in Palestine, but the Palestinians are genocidal anti-Semites and racists and warmongering, bloodthirsty, kidnapping, raping, murdering ghouls. But the mayor of New York is in their corner, clearly. And he wasn't arrested for exercising his First Amendment rights, which technically he has, even though he's a visitor from another land and he's a jihadi. He was arrested for lying on the application for his visa as a student, and then lying on his application for a green card. And the Democrats are good with that because they're anti-American, and it's not for exercising his First Amendment rights. And the mayor continues, and yet, even in the face of that cruelty, have you ever seen such cruelty, honestly? Even in the face of that cruelty, there has also been beauty. This is what he says. Was it the guys throwing the nail bombs yesterday? Is that what the mayor is talking about? New Yorkers raising their voices in solidarity. Yeah, your regular Lech Walesa, no doubt about it. It's solidarity all over again. A city refusing to look away. Well, they have to look away when your homeless, mentally ill people are throwing women in front of subway trains and setting them on fire with buckets of gasoline and things like that. The city refusing to look away. Mahmoud won his freedom after a father was finally reunited with his child. You know, sometimes jihadis get arrested and they can't spend all their free time with their families because you're a jihadi and you're a murderer or a wannabe murderer. And here's the mayor of New York continuing. Last night, as we marked the 1-year anniversary of his detention, we're going to celebrate it as a national holiday from now on, I think, when the jihad takes over. Rama and I, that's his wife, Rama and I were honored to welcome Mahmoud, Noor, and their son, Deen, D-E-E-N, to Gracie Mansion to break our fast together. That's, again, during Ramadan, the meal at the end of the day, you fast all day. Mahmoud is a New Yorker. He's not a New Yorker. I'm a native New Yorker. The Democrats going to lead to more terrorism, more killing. And he belongs in New York City. That's what he says. That's what he said. And Mahmoud Khalil, he was just before a deportation judge a couple of weeks ago because he deserves to be deported because he lied, which is against the law, on his applications to come to the United States. Isn't that fine? And the people at Politico, left-wing Democrats, the usual stuff. On March 3rd, they had the story, Mahmoud Khalil appeals immigration judge's deportation order. The pro-Palestinian activist and former Columbia student's latest legal hurdles come nearly a year after his arrest by DHS agents. Nearly a year after his arrest. And that's because they call him a pro-Palestinian activist. He's pro-Palestinian, and he's an activist. And the Palestinians, what do they want? They want to kill every Jew on the planet Earth by cutting their heads off with rusty kitchen knives and slamming them on metal pikes in a row because they're waging a medieval war against civilization, against Jews, against Israel, against the United States, against Western civilization. But the political people say pro-Palestinian activist Mahmoud Khalil says the immigration court judge who ordered him deported to Syria or Algeria last year, quote, committed clear factual and legal error on numerous accounts, according to a 50-page appeal filed back then. Khalil's appeal to the Board of Immigration Appeals comes as the 31-year-old college student from his legal permanent residency in the United States, also seeking a review of a decision in January by a federal appeals court panel that said he must pursue his case through the immigration court system rather than the district court, and raised the possibility he could be redetained. I think Gitmo face down, cuffs behind his back, 24 hours a day, no food, that whole thing. He's on a hunger strike. He didn't want to be, but he's on a hunger strike. So the Board of Immigration Appeals is part of the executive branch network of immigration courts run by the Justice Department and is separate from the federal judiciary. Now, this is just nutty stuff. He's, he might be redetained. The thing about that, because I went and actually looked for it, and I found the original stories about Mahmoud Khalil. The headline, Trump administration, and this is the news media being the news media and all of this. It's an anti-Trump story, of course. Trump administration alleges Mahmoud Khalil lied on green card application. Well, of course he lied on his green card application because he belongs to terrorist-affiliated organizations. And if he had declared that on his application, then he wouldn't have been allowed into the country in the first place to stir up anti-Semitism at Columbia University as a 30-year-old college student, because the Democrats. The Trump administration alleges Mahmoud Khalil, a former Columbia University student and pro-Palestinian activist, lied on his green card application. Khalil, arrested March 8th, failed to disclose his membership with the UNRWA, UNRWA, remember this, and his work with the British Embassy in Beirut, according to the Trump administration. And officials argue national security threat and his ties to pro-Hamas groups. And note that the people here in the media, they bury that at the bottom. Oh, yeah, he forgot to declare his pro-Hamas, which is a declared terrorist organization, that he's affiliated and linked with a terrorist organization that kidnapped and killed and all that good stuff. But the Democrats say that's okay because the Democrats are kind of Hamas, too. And even their Jews are pro-Hamas. It's completely a lot of them. Anyway, completely nuts. So, the Trump administration now saying that, and this is not this week, this is March of 2025, which is now a year ago. And this has been well known for a long, long time, but the Democrats don't remember anything. The news media, they don't remember anything. Let's go to, I see someone wants to correct me here. Let's go to the phones. Let's go to Steve calling from Nelson County, Virginia, wants to talk about the explosives used. Steve, you're on the Chris Plante Show.
Hey, Chris.
Hey, Steve.
Yeah, I think there was something awry in that news report you read. So
yeah.
TAPB is an unsensitive high explosive used in nuclear weapons. Very difficult to get hold of. Not the kind of thing requires special detonators, PETN detonators, and you wouldn't use it in a pipe bomb. You'd better put an M80 in a pipe bomb. So I think whoever wrote that news in the news story got the facts wrong on that.
Okay, all right. You're a veteran.
No, but I've worked on nuclear weapons for 30 years. So
no kidding.
I know.
I
know my explosives.
Okay, well, that's good.
It's only made in one place in the U.S., and it's a GOCO facility, and you can't get it.
Is that right? Well, and I've seen that in multiple news reports. Sorry? Oh, yeah, that's true. Jessica Tisch, the police commissioner in New York, said that. We played that soundbite of her yesterday. But I believe you.
I want to see the mass spec analysis on it.
Okay, I like it. All right, so you think that the police reports are incorrect, inaccurate, that this is a very specialized explosive, and it's not the kind of thing you'd use with a nail bomb that you're going to throw at people.
No, it's really hard to light up. I mean, it's unless I don't know, maybe somebody smuggled some to them, but which raises a whole other set of questions. What are these guys doing with, trimino-benzene? I mean, that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. And what do they call it? PETP? Is that what it's called?
No, TATB. It's trimino-trinitrobenzene.
Sure, absolutely. Oh, they're saying TATP. Is that right?
Yeah. Well, that's just it's a variant, but it's still the reason it's produced is it's insensitive to shock and things like that. It has to use special detonation to set it off, which is maybe if they did get hold of something somehow, why it didn't go off, because you need an electronic detonation system to set it off.
Okay. So they were ambitious, but not very well versed in their field.
High tech, but incompetent.
Yeah. Okay. Right. Okay. Well, that's they outran their technical capabilities. It looks like. Oh, well, I'm glad you called in with that, Steve. I'm sorry, you don't sound like you worked on nuclear weapons for 30 years.
Do I sound insane? Is that what you're saying?
Great, great stuff. Thank you.
Preliminary testing has determined that one of the devices contained triacetone triperoxide, or TATP, also commonly referred to as Mother of Satan, a highly volatile explosive that has been used in multiple terrorist attacks over the last decade.
I always call it Mother of Satan. I have friends that call it the mother-in-law of Satan, the mother-in-law of Satan. And I want to say to Steve, who worked on nuclear weapons for 30 years, great caller, great stuff. I didn't mean to say that I just meant you sound very young. You sound like you're in your 30s or 40s on the telephone. So you said you worked on nuclear weapons for 30 years. I thought, oh, he still sounds like he's 28 years old over here, worked on nuclear weapons for 30. That sounds like serious work, doesn't it? Sounds pretty serious. So we got that. But that was the police commissioner, Jessica Tisch, the soundbite that we just played, talking about this Amir Balat and Ibrahim Qayyumi with their homemade bombs. And I'm not enough of a bomb expert. I know a little bit about weapons and bombs and even nuclear bombs and things, but not as much as Steve, that's for sure. Maybe about as much as these two guys, though. The Democrat Party is really pro-Islamic jihad and not pro-American at all. You know why? Because they're not on our side. They're the left. They're not liberals.